I now call on Alec Rowley to wind up the debate. Mr Rowley, you have until 4:49. Sorry, 4:59.
Presiding Officer, thank you. We brought forward this debate here today because we believe that we must be ambitious and support all Scots to succeed, reach their full potential and live life free from poverty. And to meet this aspiration, we must ensure that everyone who can work in Scotland has the opportunity of a secure job with a decent pay, decent terms and conditions to make full employment Scotland's #1 priority. Throughout my political life, jobs have always been a key issue. As a trade unionist, as the leader of Fife Council and now as an MSP for the Cowdenbeath constituency, when I talk to people, I have found that their biggest concern is jobs, the lack of them, the loss of them, the undervaluing of them, the shortage of good quality jobs. I believe that creating skilled and secure jobs for all and tackling unemployment and underemployment is the most pressing challenge facing Scotland today. I want to see a chance for everyone to have a life in work, not a life on benefits. Jobs, not social security benefits, will increase living standards, and what really matters most to people is the dignity of having a good, secure job in which they can take a pride. The combined impact of globalisation and technological change has destroyed so many traditional jobs and so quickly that they have transformed the entire occupational structure of our country. Manufacturing, mining and heavy industry once made up 40% of Scotland's economy. Today, these represent only 8% of our workforce, a figure that is still falling. The traditional manual industries have declined, and while service jobs have risen, the rewards of lower pay, less security and often zero-hour contracts are not acceptable within a modern economy. It is my view that the SNP government's record on tackling unemployment, tackling low pay and tackling low wages and tackling work insecurity has not been good enough. And that is why we will not agree with the SNP amendment which is today brought forward. It is a rose-tainted view that ignores the reality of unemployment in Scotland, ignores the massive skills gaps in Scotland, the shortages of workforce and skilled workforce in Scotland. It ignores the failure of government to tackle the deep-rooted social deprivation and exclusion that exists in communities up and down Scotland. Last year, there were 170,000 people unemployed in Scotland, an increase of almost 40,000 since 2008. And the unemployment rate accounted for 6.2% of the working population. To put this in context, there are more unemployed people in Scotland than there are people living in Dundee. A population the size of the fourth biggest city in Scotland denied the opportunity to work and the associated income that comes with that. The unemployment situation in Scotland is not improving fast enough. Statistics for the beginning of this year show that Scottish unemployment rate at 5.9%, higher than the UK rate at 5.5%, with 163,000 people unemployed. Of these, 59,000 were between the ages 16 and 24, nearly 15% of this young population. The number of 16 to 19-year-olds not in education, employment and training, commonly referred to as the NEETs, stood at 21,000 at the end of 2014. These lost and forgotten 21,000 young adults represent a population comparable to the town size of Bathgate. Research has shown that young people are hit particularly hard by economic and emotional effects of unemployment, and so tackling youth unemployment must surely be a priority for government and for this Parliament. Yet for many, even being in work is not a safeguard against poverty. A recent report from the Joseph Rowntree Foundation showed that of the 920,000 people living in poverty in Scotland, on average in the 3 years up to 2012-2013, 41% were working-age adults or children from working families. The report highlighted the scale of low pay in Scotland. 600,000 were paid below the living wage in 2013-14. 250,000 men, 350,000 women. These numbers represent 23% of male employees and 31% of female employees. So I say to the Government, let's sit down together and examine how we will use the procurement powers in the public sector to give hundreds of thousands of more Scots a living wage. The point was made by Mary Scanlon in terms of naming some of the employers this morning in the supermarkets elsewhere that are introducing the living wage. I suggest to you that we are in danger in the care sector in Scotland of actually not being able to recruit enough carers because the pay is so low, in the majority of cases the minimum wage, and that is no longer acceptable. And I appeal to this Government to get its act together and start to do something about it. Willie Rennie also made the point in terms of when he spoke about the SMEs and small companies in the procurement and how we can use the procurement system to support small companies and create more jobs. Yeah.
Minister.
I'm grateful to the member for taking the intervention. I just asked the member then, would he not agree that it would make much more sense for this Parliament to have full powers over employment, wage levels, health and safety, trade union laws? Would he not support that?
Alex Rowley.
I certainly will come to that point. In Scotland today, underemployment is also a real issue, with substantial numbers of Scots who are in work but who would prefer to work more hours than they do. Over 215,000 people in Scotland in 2014 were deemed as underemployed, and although the rate slightly decreased from the previous year, it still affected 8.6% of the workforce in Scotland. And although the Scottish Government hold no records for the numbers of people employed on zero-hours contract, it is estimated that there are currently 80,000 people in Scotland, workers in Scotland, suffering from zero-hours contracts. It is vital that we continue to focus on the issues of in-work poverty.
Neil Findlay.
Zero-hours contracts is a huge problem in Scotland. One of the areas where zero-hours contracts are used a lot is in the cultural sector. Was he aware that at Tea in the Park, many of the workers are on zero-hours contracts? Does he think they should be funding a festival that does that to its workers?
Alex Rowley.
I certainly think one of the main reasons that we will not be supporting the amendment today is because it does not recognise that these levels of issues and problems actually exist in Scotland. And if we are going to start to tackle these problems, our starting point has to be acknowledge that the problems actually exist and take the rose-tinted glasses off. It is vital that we continue to focus on in-work poverty alongside tackling unemployment and associated poverty. Let me now turn to the rest of the amendment from the SNP. On Saturday, I campaigned against the trade union bill in the town of Galashiels, where I spoke to many people from all over the Scottish borders, as well as Berwick and Carlisle. People were queuing up to sign the petition. The SNP amendment calls for swift and full devolution of powers over employment law. I am certainly keen to explore this further, along with trade union colleagues in Scotland. We are absolutely clear that devolution is a journey, and where there is a case for further powers to be made in terms of employment law, we will work with trade unions and others to achieve this. And that is why we continue to examine such matters. But can I suggest to the Minister today that she takes a lead? There is a consensus in this Parliament, apart from one party, of opposition to the trade union bill. Take the lead and pull together the parties in here, join with the trade unions across Scotland, and let's build an all-Scotland campaign that absolutely rejects the trade union bill. I lay the challenge, get involved. But let's also, Presiding Officer, let's also talk about the powers which we have here in Scotland. Will the Government commit to using the powers of the legislative consent to block the key points of the Tories' trade union bill from affecting Scottish public services and their employers? Again, let's sit down and work together and look at how we can do that. And I would also ask the Minister, will the Minister line up with Labour local authorities across Scotland, making clear that if this bill was to pass into law by Westminster, the Scottish Government will not, and I repeat, will not enact any changes that were detrimental to the industrial relations of Scottish Government staff. These steps, I suggest, are the best way for us here in this Parliament and in Scotland to proceed when it comes to the trade union bill, which is an attack on workers, on public services and on democracy. Presiding Officer, I want to conclude by drawing attention to the Bernardo's brief that was put out earlier. If we are serious about tackling inequality and poverty, we need to recognise the many people who are furthest away from the labour market. As the Bernardo's brief points out, where it focuses on young people and looks at the future of employability, the work programme cannot, as it currently stands, be focused on helping those who are closest to the labour market, and we must be able to move beyond ticking boxes. We need a policy in place that recognises that right across Scotland there are thousands upon thousands of people that are not near the point where they would be able to qualify and get a job. There are hundreds of thousands of people in Scotland that don't have the qualifications, the skills for life, and that means a focused programme working with local authorities to give those people the best opportunities in life. I believe that full employment gives everybody the best chance in life. We need to get the skills and the opportunities to be able to do that. Thank you, Presiding Officer.